I wonder about that. So that has been a thought on my mind since they acquired Manus. I've been like, okay, are they going to stop people from being able to use OpenClaw? Or are they going to force them to be like, hey, listen, if you want to do that, you have to use a tool like Manus? Because I find sometimes that you don't have as much flexibility to be able to work with Facebook because they, of course, it's their platform, right?
I agree. So yeah, at the minute, I'm open. But like I say, if there's a new thing to come out, I'll have play with it, test it. If I can see it, sort of a way of working with it into my, integrate it into my tools, or if it sparks a new idea, then I'll run with it. And if not, then I'll push it to the side.
Hello, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Entrepreneurial Truth. On today's podcast, I have Simon Crack. Simon, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, Kesi. Thanks very much for inviting me here. Really happy to be here and to sort of share my journey, really.
Yeah. Okay, so tell our audience a little bit about what you do, who you are, and who you serve.
Sure. So I've been employed by myself, just working for myself, entrepreneur since 2009. That was when really I decided to sort of exit the rat race. I'd actually been made redundant twice. So I was a graphic designer. That was my sort of trade job. And I got made redundant once. So then I jumped into another graphic design job. And within a year and a half, again, I was made redundant. So I was like, I've sort of, this is enough for me. Sort of being employed isn't even a safe job anymore. So I may as well sort of do it myself, sort of thing. And that's when I became self-employed. And luckily, I was working on a website in the background. So I was still doing my 9 to 5 and then going home and working on a website, which was at the time Magic Tricks, how to teach people how to do magic tricks. And I guess that website was one of the first websites where I really grew a massive YouTube channel at the time as well. So that's kind of like where I started. And then it just sort of snowballed from there, really. At the minute, I serve creators, basically. I take AI and because it can shortcut everything and make things so much faster, more streamlined, I create tools for other creators, basically, at the minute that can then, streamline their workflow.
So I find that a lot of people find their calling or jump into their businesses from something that happened to them in the past, right? So what led you into the AI space from doing the graphic design?
Yeah, so it's weird looking back now. I can sort of connect the dots to what I'm doing. Everything has now sort of led up to this. So graphic design, obviously, for creating apps. And then it went into sort of creating websites, learning internet marketing. And then I went into actually creating apps on the iPhone as well. So I created hundreds of apps. I released them to the app stores, got featured by Apple about 18 times in total over those few years. And then I transitioned, obviously, from apps into SaaS, which is like software as a service. So I've got like a Shopify app that will help musicians. So if they're selling their CDs or vinyls, the app basically bridges the gap between the manufacturer and their Shopify store. So they can get sales and then it automates it. And then the sales just go to the manufacturer to print, ship, and directly ship to the customer. So basically everything that I do is kind of like creating shortcuts, making life easier for people, really. That's, I guess, if you really boil it down. So now sort of transitioning into AI, I've kind of used apps, SaaS, graphic design, YouTube, and all of that has sort of come together now into the tools that I've built today, which I still can't code. I'm a no-code developer as such, even though I've made hundreds of iPhone games and loads of websites, tons of SaaS. I still can't write a line of code. And now I use AI for that. Before I would, I use coders and things like that.
Yeah, I'm loving this conversation. So for us too, we have our systems and AI company where we do AI as well. And I find that no code, even if there was a no code platform before or low code, it's being totally wiped away by Claude. How do you feel about that? Like, for example, like N8N and Make and those things.
I think it's brilliant. All those tools that can, in the past, I would spend maybe $2,000 to hire a developer over 2 or 3 months to create something. And now we can literally do it within a couple of hours and test new ideas so fast. So you can test, fail faster, and then you end up with a much better product in a quick, short space of time without having to waste money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what do you say to entrepreneurs that are like diving into that space now, that weren't in your world before? What advice would you give them?
You just got to basically be a good communicator. That's the only thing is like when you're talking to AI, you just got to be really specific about what you do want and what you don't want, and don't just take its first reply as given. You can cross-reference it, take what it's given you, put it into another AI. This is what I love to do. I kind of like face off with different AIs. So if ChatGPT gives me something, I just take that as an opinion, and then I'll give it to Claude, and then Claude will add its bits, and then I'll maybe give it to Gemini, Google, and that's a third person that's kind of looking over it and improving it. And so, yeah, that's kind of like what I would say is don't just take, one AI's word for it. ChatGPT can obviously make stuff up a lot of the time as well, which people don't realize it mirrors you as well. So if, it can hype you up, it can say stuff that's not completely wrong. You might give it an idea, right? And it will say, "Yep, that's the best idea I ever heard." But then you give it to Grok, and Grok's like, "No, it's terrible." And you're like, "Good, thanks for bringing me back down to earth."
I am so happy we're having this conversation, because a lot of people feel like their jobs are going to be replaced by AI, and they have so much fear around it. And even when we're speaking to business owners and saying, hey, use it as a tool, they don't really comprehend that it's not at the place where it will take your job right now, right? It's a tool to help you to be able to do your job faster, better. But they don't understand that garbage in, garbage out.
Totally agree. Yeah. Garbage in, garbage out.
Oh my gosh. How are you educating people that are coming to you and like, oh, listen, this is what I want?
Yeah. So no, you're completely right. And there's like an AI debate I can see going on right now. It's kind of like people love it or people hate it. There's kind of like no one in between, right? People either absolutely hate it or they absolutely love it. And it's like, it's really interesting. And for me, even speaking to like people in my family, older ones, even younger ones, I'm still getting like some people have no idea what ChatGPT is. So if you've got those people, and then you've got people that are like just in it like me every day, and you're exactly right. It's not AI is not going to come and take your job. AI is going to take the job of someone who doesn't know how to use AI, right? That's it. So you've just got to be educated. And so it doesn't matter if you're not using AI right now necessarily, but you've got to jump in and do some research and find out about it and play with it. Really, it's a toy to play with, and you can really obviously get some fantastic stuff out of it. But what you can't do is stick your head in the sand and then in 5 years' time wonder how has the world changed so much.
Yeah. And I was watching a podcast the other day, and they were using a reference of like back in the day where people used to use ox to farm land, and then the invention of the tractor. And then there were people that were like, oh no, we'll forever use this. And then the people with the tractor is like, but why? And that's kind of how I feel like there's a huge separation in the game right now. And it's because of lack of education around it. I feel like there's just a lot of content being pushed out there about, oh, this is the greatest thing, but they're not exactly explaining it to an entrepreneur. Listen, this will help your business in X way. So my question is, if you had to go back in time, right, and you had to speak to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself? And what tool would you give yourself?
Well, basically, I would fast forward, because obviously I've been doing this since 2009, right? So now AI has like duplicated 10x what people can do. So I would just be like, here's ChatGPT, like just run with it, right? Back then, you imagine if I fast forward to what I could have built today. It's crazy. I mean, like I say, you don't YouTube, ChatGPT, all the AIs, the information's there. People don't need to be spending thousands of dollars on courses anymore that they then don't watch. They just feel good for buying a course. Like, we've all been there. It's like, you keep buying, you think it's like a shiny object syndrome, isn't it? It's like you keep buying the next course or the next thing. And it's like, actually, you sort of kind of don't need to do that anymore. It's like AI has, for me, it's like leveled the game. I say sort of leveled the playing field, where you've got businesses, really high tech businesses that just are scared of it, aren't afraid to touch it, are just letting their employees have small cut off parts of AI and not letting them touch big ones. Like I was at a birthday party the other weekend, and it's like interesting how, a guy back my age is trying to push who they work for into, using this, using that. And they're being so strict with, you can only use, X, Y, Z. And then you've got older guys in the team that are spending days inputting data into an Excel sheet that literally AI could do in 2 minutes, right? And
Whoa.
it's like, oh, well, let's say 10 seconds, right? But people don't realize. And it's like getting the younger generation kind of to try and teach the older generation that, look, it's not going to take your job, but why spend 5 days inputting data when AI could have just done it in 2 minutes, and then you could have just been on to the next job?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think too, they don't realize that they've been using it for years. And I think that's where the disconnect is. I think if there was more information out there about, hey, listen, but you've been using this tool. So for example, voice agents, right? People are afraid of voice agents, but they've been calling medical offices for years, and they've had that automated, really dull thing that loops you around. It's just gotten more advanced,
Exactly.
So why not implement that into your business instead of taking the time to always be on the phone when you could be doing other productive things? Let me ask
Totally.
you, yeah,
I was
what?
just going to say,
Yeah,
sorry, just to
no, no,
interject,
no,
but
go.
like you're saying, it's like similarly for me, it's like when chatbots first came out, that's the first thing I installed on my website, and
Mm-hmm,
it cut my customer services down to like 99% gone, because
mm-hmm,
people could literally ask questions, and it knows. You
correct.
can give it the documents about your business. It knows exactly, so it knows the answers. So just to sort of add into your phone conversation as well, it's like, yeah, if people just add in a simple chatbot to their website that will just help customers, then
Mm-hmm,
that cuts down your customer service and frees up your time. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's like free up your time to do something else,
correct. Correct.
rather than the boring box,
Correct.
stuff that could just be easily done by AI.
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100. What other ways are you using AI in your business? Not just creating apps, but in terms of making your life easier.
So I literally use AI every single day, multiple times a day, and it's weird now to look at things that other people haven't even used ChatGPT. Like, I couldn't live without it. So it's just for the simple things, like I got a parking ticket the other day that it wasn't even valid. Before I'd have been sat, right, I've got to create an email to complain, right? And I'd sit there, blank page. What do I write? I know in my head what to say, but I could never get it out. Now with the AI, you can literally just give it a brain dump. I'll say, here's my brain dump. Write me a letter. So it wrote me a perfect letter that I then sent off, got out the parking ticket. Now I sent, that did that within 10 seconds. So that's just like one job done. That would have took me an hour. And then other things like I'm writing a new book. So I released How to Go Viral in 24 Hours with AI book
Mhm.
last year. That did really well. And I'm still selling some of it. But like so much changed and I've added so many new tools, I'm releasing a new version. Now, yeah, I could have sat down and spent another year writing that, or write down all my ideas into like a Word document, everything gets put in, and then just hand it to Claude and go, how I talk, help me write this book. So it can then structure all my ideas, and it can help me write it. It's still my ideas. It's not, I don't see it as cheating. It's
Mhm.
still all my content that's in my head. It's just being able to structure it, reformat it, edit it,
Mhm.
spell check it in literally seconds rather than hours. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it's
there's just a
literally a
couple of
ghostwriter.
examples.
Yeah, they don't think of a ghostwriter as cheating. Most people have ghostwriters to help them write a book, but then they look
That's
on
it.
AI. It's literally just framing. It's how people see technology, and it's the fear of technology, because I
The
think that
fear.
watching movies for so many years about
Hmm.
the robots, you know,
Yeah.
it's fear. It's definitely a
iRobot.
fear-based movie. Yeah, iRobot. There you
Or
go.
Terminator 2 is the one that I always bring up because, yeah, I do, you've got the divide, haven't you? The people that are like, AI is going to take us into harmony. And then you got AI is going to take us into Terminator 2, and it's like, right, well,
It's
we'll
wild.
see. But yeah, it's who knows where it's really going to go in the future. But all I know is right now it's like it's the biggest shift since the internet.
It is a bigger shift. Now, let me ask you something that's a little bit controversial. When you use and you play in AI, and I can speak for myself too, when we're building things and new tools come out all the time that make that thing that you're doing better, how are you able to kind of say, hey, listen, I'm not going to try that new one, I'm just going to focus on the one that I'm using now, so that shiny tool object just doesn't. How do you stop yourself, or like what kind of parameter are you putting in place to be like, listen, no, I don't need to go down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, that's a good question actually, because literally every minute it feels like, or every hour, there's a new tool, right, or a new feature, or OpenAI is like, right, well, we've just released XYZ, and Anthropic's like, right, we've released that, and you're right, and it's like, where do you draw the line? So I'll usually have a little peek and sort of see, and it's like, and maybe I'll have a play just for a couple minutes, play with the AI to see what it's like, if it's radically different. But for me, it's like try and keep blinkers on with, using the tools that are working for me. Why would you then, you know start going down a rabbit hole where you can get lost, obviously, with different tools? So for me, it's making everything simple. So with my tools like Clipsy.com, which is like a video AI creator, there's obviously hundreds of websites out there that can do it, but my idea is strip it down simple. These are like 10-second clips that you can make, and you basically just type them in as a story. So you can give them to your child and they can type in a little story, and then you get 10-second video, which is actually pretty cool, that they've made, sort of thing. So it's like my tools are stripped down to super simple to try and get people to use it to learn about AI, because like you say, it can look complex as well, and a lot of these websites are. And so my initial website that I created, like say last year, was Clipsy, and then since then I've sort of developed. I went into another tool called Autopilot, which was the kind of like be able to post your Clipsy videos daily without having to do them yourself. And then it sort of snowballed from there. I created Cortex ID just recently, within a couple of weeks. I had the idea. In my school group, I just put the idea out there. Guys, I've got like a few hundred people in the group. Would you use this kind of tool if you could clone yourself, clone your voice, and then basically teach the AI about your business, and then it could post for you daily, and it can be upfront about it. Like for me, it's going to be like, hi, it's AI Sai here. Here's an update about XYZ. And I'm still going to post some more content with myself as well. But it's just kind of like to amplify, right? It doesn't need to be one or the other. You can still be human posting and AI side posting for info on stuff. So that's my latest tool that I've built. And like I say, with the advent of AI, that would have cost me thousands of dollars, took me months to build, and then I wouldn't even know if people would want to use it. But now with AI, you can create the tool literally in like a weekend, which I did. I had the bare bones of this done in like a weekend just to test it. And as soon as I knew it worked, then I could spend the next, I think it was 2 weeks, just polishing it up, getting people to use it, test it. And so within 3 weeks, I'd had a tool from zero to completely released. And like I say, that even last year or a couple of years ago, that just would not have been possible.
No, it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been possible at all. And let me ask you, do you prefer OpenClaw, or do you prefer Claude, or why? And why?
All of them. So because they've all got different,
I love it.
like, they've all got different uses for different things. So I've definitely used OpenClaw. I've installed it via Emergent, because they're kind of like a bit like Lovable, aren't they?
Right.
Or Bolt, where you can create no-code things, and they've got like a one-click install. So I've installed OpenClaw. I love it because what's amazing about OpenClaw is you can give it access to your Facebook ads, and it can create ads using Nano Banana. So you give it the API key for Nano Banana. You literally sign up to Google, get your API key. So you give that to your OpenClaw, and then you give it your Facebook ads access, and it could literally create ads for you and post them, and then say, oh, this ad's not working, I'm going to stop it, and this, that, the other. I haven't even jumped into that fully, I just messed about with it a couple of weeks ago before I was then jumped onto sort of this new project. So I'm a bit of a crazy professor in a way, with all these different ideas that I do and build. And then I've got, you know, the books to finish, and then also thinking, oh, I need to get back into, you know, OpenClaw, like you say, because um, that's a game changer in terms of being able to just tell it to go and do stuff and it just goes and does it. Because at the minute, like AI can be really quite one-on-one, backwards and forwards, but obviously with the advent of agents and stuff where they just go off, and Manus is a good one as well. I use
Mm-hmm.
that for if I'm wanting to create like a pitch deck or even like an instruction manual, like for Clipsy, for Cortex ID and Autopilot. Who wants to sit for the next God knows how long to write out a user manual? So I
Mm-hmm.
just get Manus to create it because it does cool design. I can give it the information, it's going to write it all nicely, hit create as PDF, and it's done.
How do you feel about Manus now that Manus is integrated into Facebook?
That's another thing. Yeah, I think it's great, obviously, because of the ads aspect. I haven't actually delved too much with that. I still prefer the OpenClaw aspect because I feel like it's more, you've got more freedom there.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really delved into Manus with Facebook ads, but OpenClaw with Facebook ads is something I'm more interested in because I feel like, I don't know, there could be a little bit of bias there when they've installed it, right? So,
Yeah, and I
because like you say, you can't keep up with it. There's 101 new AIs every minute, it feels like.
no, there are 100 new tools, and what platforms or how are you using it to help get the word out on all these tools that you're creating?
So yeah, mainly via selling my book. That's been a really good one. I sell that mainly on Facebook ads, and then people enter my funnel to then be able to play with Clipsy, see Autopilot, and now I've added in Cortex ID, which is the clone yourself tool as well. And they're all these tools are free to start because, you know, literally I just created them, so I'm not like a massive business, a massive, you know, staffed conglomerate. So all these tools, I've tried to make them super easy to use and free, you know, free to start and stuff. And yeah, I can't remember what your actual question was.
No worries. What's your long-term goal and long-term vision with all of these tools that you're creating?
That's a good question, actually. My long-term goal, yeah, is basically just to educate people, I guess, on AI and show them that you can shortcut. It's not just shortcutting. It's because it shortcuts time, but it still does a really good job, and it's probably better than you'd do if you just spent hours doing it yourself. So it's not really a shortcut. It's just like being able to 10x something that would have took you a lot longer, and then you've done it. And then you can then go off and do stuff that you would want to do anyway, like go for a walk or something. Like what I find with vibe coding and stuff is really cool is I can go and tell it to do something on my laptop in the house, and then it'll go, right, okay, I'll go and do that. And then if it's doing it for 20 minutes, I can then go off and play with the kids or, you know, do the hoovering. And then you come back and it's done. And it's like, that's such a time saver, like to be able to do other stuff while the AI is working for you.
Yeah. And have you ever just let it run? Like, for example, you know, you can stop it from asking you permissions and just have it just run and do the thing.
Yeah, quite often. It really depends. Like with OpenClaw, I've got it in the cloud. I haven't just put it onto my computer and just let it run. You know, because we've heard the stories, right?
Yes.
Everyone's heard the stories of the guy who installed it and it deleted all his emails.
Dude,
did you not hear this?
They have not heard the story. They have not heard the story at all. Like I was in another group talking to people and I was like, you know, you can't just leave it. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, haven't you heard? I was even in a group where it wiped 2 years of her work. Mm-hmm. So for business owners that are listening to us have this conversation right now, let me slow down and just reframe. If you haven't listened to any of our previous episodes or listened to an episode where we were talking about this, people are installing OpenClaw on their computer and they're just saying, hey, have at it. And it's literally just wiping data. So Simon, I'm going to let you tell your story.
Yeah, no, you're right. So yeah, it's important to be careful because there were horror stories where people obviously put OpenClaw on their computer and it either went through and deleted a bunch of emails that they wanted because it was helping them clean that up, or another story, horror story, where it went off by itself on the internet, bought a $2,000 course because it was trying to help the user of the computer for whatever he was interested in at the time, right? And the guy's like, why have you spent $2,000? And it's like, well, because your bank account details are all connected up, and then he just went off and did it. So you've got to be really careful. You don't just install it on your computer and let it go wild. That's why the Apple Mac Minis are getting sold out everywhere, because people are buying dedicated machines just to install this on, so they can make sure they can give it the information they want to give it, right? And that's why I've installed it via Emergent, because it was like super cheap website, and it runs in the cloud, so it can only work from the stuff I give it, rather than having access to your whole stuff, basically, your life, right? Don't put it on your phone, don't put it on your computer. But what you can do, you can put it on your phone via Telegram or WhatsApp, and then talk to it. So I've got mine OpenClaw set up on this broken screen phone, but this is its brain, basically. So as long as I keep this charged, I just talk to my OpenClaw via my phone to that phone, and via WhatsApp. So it's encrypted, and it only gets the stuff that I give it. And it's locked, on the cloud and on the phone, sort of thing, on that phone. And it's not just, on your computer.
Wild on your phone.
Help you.
I love how you say it helped. Yeah, it's wild. Like I was in the chat when that happened to her, and she posted it, 2 years of her data gone, and everybody was in shock, because at this time, this was like a couple months ago, we were just learning about how to really use it, and a lot of people watch YouTube videos, and then they're not really watching it either to the end, or it hasn't been fully tested, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna jump in, and then they install it, it wipes it, and then they're like, what?
Well, it's like, would you give your laptop to a 3-year-old? It's like, no, you wouldn't. So why would you just give it to like an AI? So people need to be careful, obviously.
And I'm glad you even said that, right? Because they think that they're going to get the level of work quality that someone like you, who's been in the industry, that has been doing graphic design, is going to be able to output, but they don't understand that there's a skill set that you have to provide this thing in order to get that output. Even if you're researching that skill, you have to give it good quality information in order for it to produce this thing for you. If it goes out and searches the web, it may not be what you want it to give you, because again, they're not prompting it right. They're not giving it the right information. They're not explaining the business model. There is a skill that goes along with running these things.
Yeah, communication. I think it's just a communication skill. You've just got to be a good communicator. And if you're terrible, you need to just learn how to be better at it. Just explaining what you want. You need to explain exactly what you want and what you don't want. And you just have to, basically just almost over explain. Like if you're typing to creating an image on Google, you need to almost speak to it as if you're talking to a child. So you explain everything, so it won't just go off on a tangent, because like you say, it will hallucinate. It can hallucinate in images as well as videos, as well as stuff that it writes for you. So especially if you're not proofreading it as well, just because, and that's the thing, I don't know if you notice as well, emails and texts, whenever I see these massive long lines in them, I'm like, they've used AI to write this.
Absolutely.
And then I don't know how I feel about it. I'm like, you didn't write that email to me. But even for me, if I'm writing an email and I've used AI, I will remove those M dashes, because that's telltale AI, isn't it?
Listen, there's so many aspects of it. What are some of the key takeaways that you think that entrepreneurs today can take away from where the industry is going, tools that they can use, and just something that you think, hey, listen, I'm listening to this podcast right now. This was really helpful for me to get me from point A to point B.
Yeah. So for me, the biggest sort of tip is if you're got, an entrepreneur, or you want to be an entrepreneur, but you're not sure if you should take the leap. That's the scary part. You should definitely not just jump into something new without giving up your day job. because like I say, back in the day, I worked round the clock basically to work my day job, but then obviously get my side hustle up to a point where the day job didn't matter anymore. So I'd definitely say use AI as your leverage, basically, to explore ideas, test things. There's still, you've got Fiverr, Etsy, eBay, all these sites where you can still create a side income quite easily. Creating apps is another thing, definitely with, the advent of AI, if you use Claude Code, or I recently just started messing with Codex, which is really good as well.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the pro plan is only literally like $20, which I've paid forever anyway because I use ChatGPT daily for images. And I didn't realize how much they allow you as well just to use for Codex. So a good example I know I'm sort of going off on a bit of a tangent, but a good example, even if you're using like Bulk 44, Lovable to create your apps, if you've got two apps that you want to talk to each other, you've got kind of like two projects and it can be really confusing. And it's almost like talking to someone and then you go and talk to the other person. You're like, well, he said this, can you do it? And it becomes really confusing. So what I actually did is I downloaded the code bases to my computer and just used Codex, and it could read both codes and then make all the changes, basically both at the same time. And then I could upload them both, and it, basically did the mesh. So then both apps talk. And to me, it was like, this is mind blowing, like watching it do this as well. Like literally Codex is doing two codes at the same time. And then for me, then just to basically just upload it back to the web and test it and for it to work. So, yeah, I would just say jump in on AI. That's where obviously everything's heading. You definitely need to educate yourself on that. And then, yeah, whatever your interests might be. My book, like I keep talking about it, but How to Go Viral in 24 Hours with AI, isn't just that. That's kind of like the hook. Be like, oh, that's interesting. But actually, when you read it, there's 10 ways that I write in the book of how to actually use AI to make money. So just one example, just quick, is like with video, obviously with video AI, you can create like historical figures. So video AI will create like Einstein, or it'll create anything you want. So what I say to people is like, you could set up a Fiverr gig and you could have like historical figure says happy birthday to whoever. So you could literally set up an Easter bunny, for instance, and it says happy birthday, Jessica, or happy Easter, Jessica, right? Or you could have Santa Claus, which I did over Christmas, and you can literally create a scene and it says ho ho ho, happy Christmas, John, right? And Guy, you could create these with Clipsy and you get like, a bunch of free credits. You create a bunch of these and then just sell them on Fiverr. And that's just like one example of like, with AI, you need to sort of think outside the box, basically, of all the things you can do, because it's leveled the playing field. Like literally anybody can just pretty much create whatever they want now. It's like there's no barrier.
Right. And I think the only limiter and barrier is the person themselves. And there really
Definitely.
is there's no limits to anything that they want to do. They just need to do it. Because just like they buy a course, right? They buy a course and they don't use it. They put it down. They're like, oh, I'll get to it. But people are actually getting results because those people are actually taking that thing and going from A in the book all the way to Z, right? Where they're getting, like, they're purchasing the AI, they're never using it. They're purchasing the course, they're never using it. So I do believe that any entrepreneur listening, based on what you're saying too, now that it's leveled the playing field, they have the opportunity to be able to just start a business, sell whatever they want to sell, test fast, like try it, test it, fail fast, try another one. But the time that it would take to learn to see if that thing is going to make money has shortened so much that they can go out and do it while they still have their job and see if that entrepreneurship thing is really for them.
That's it. Yeah. And like you say, AI has made it so much easier in that respect, definitely, because it can shortcut. Maybe you don't want to spend your whole evening like me. I used to come home 9 till 5 and then I'd work from 6 till 12 for years, and AI can shortcut that. So I maybe only would have to have spent 1 hour in the evening, right? And AI can 10x now what we can do. And you can use it, like I say, to test ideas. And I definitely say, don't just use one AI as well. because
Mm-hmm.
you can be blindsided by its blind spots as well as your own in that case.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely good to use multiple AIs to get different opinions.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. Where can our audience find you?
So I've got a YouTube channel called Dead Cool Apps. So I'm basically there, or you can email me at hello@clipsy.com if you want to, yeah, just chat. And that's the main thing I like. I like to speak to sort of customers and, yeah, chat backwards and forwards via email and not just be like a chatbot AI. So
Well,
I do quite enjoy that.
and now you have the time too, right?
That's it, and that's what AI does, right? It just frees up your time and makes everything that you could do maybe in a year you can now do in a week.
Awesome. Awesome, Simon. Thank you so much for this awesome conversation. It was fun.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And thanks to the audience for listening. I will put all of his information in the show notes if you're watching in YouTube. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please head over here to YouTube to get all of his links. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks. Simon.